3, 2, 1, timer. Okay, so at its core, Life After YorHa is the events that take place directly after the ending E of Nier Automata. Obviously, at the end of Nier Automata, 2B and 9S are kind of like, really shit state because 2B was destroyed by a logic virus earlier in the game, and 9S also basically went the way of the dodo by the end of the game as well when he went little bit batshit crazy. A2 is still relatively intact because obviously she didn't contract the logic virus. She had obviously she had the final fight with 9S, and kind of, I don't know if she cured him of it or what, but like basically did the same thing for everything we can like assume happened. So during the ending credit scene, we have a bunch of pods carrying. Hold on, let me bring this. I'll bring it up on screen so I can play the thing in the background. We have a bunch of pods carrying like parts through city ruins. The Automata final cutscene. Is this it? Ending. Okay. So yeah, we have a bunch of pods carrying the bodies and them through city ruins to bring them to settle down on. Come on. Credits, post-credit scene. Here you go. So yeah, we see them bringing the corpses through city ruins to where they've got, a bunch of and there's a lot of extra pods here, by the way. So A2 is going to get her own pod throughout this story. It's going to be pod 202. Pod 202 is a bit British, very sort of prim and proper, a bit of a bitch. Like very by the books. If you ever watch Buffy the Vampire Slayer, is kind of like a bit of Giles and a bit of Wesley mixed together, and yeah, so that's kind of what A2's pod's going to be like. Their first interaction is going to be like the pod trying to wake her up and do a systems diagnostic, and A2's going to be like, get the fuck off me or I'll rip your fucking arms out sort of thing. Like obviously though she's a bit exhausted, so that ain't gonna go that ain't gonna really work out too well. Like she's just gonna basically pass out and is gonna do the diagnostic anyway. And so yeah, like the first thing that's gonna happen, I've got a draft of chapter 1 by the way, and it's garbage, it's pure fucking garbage. But basically, what's going to happen after that is 9S is going to be the first to awaken. He's going to go sort of trying to figure out what's going on in the world now that, obviously because he's been out for a little while. A2 is going to attack. Well, she's not really going to attack him. She's going to come around the corner and he's going to attack her, which is going to fail miserably. Because 9S is not a combat android. He may know how to do combat because he taught himself. But effectively, he's going to try and attack A2 and it's going to fail miserably. And then in the next, because obviously like he sort of has the memory of A2 killing 2B and he doesn't understand why yet, basically. He doesn't understand why that happened. So the scene that's going to happen after this is obviously A2's she's going to completely dominate 9S, and then she's just going to leave and he's just going to pass out on the ground because it's funny. Let's close that down. So what's going to happen after that is there's going to be like a sort of congregation of the characters. So 2B, 9S, A2, and all the pods. And we're going to get sort of just more or less a recap of what happened throughout the course of the game that 2B wasn't around for. And then the end of the bits that 9S, like this is basically filling in 9S on what he missed. Because obviously at this point in time he still thinks that A2 killing 2B was just because A2's a rogue android and, like sort of did it out of malice and whatever. But it's going to be made very, very clear that it wasn't mercy killing. 2B is not going to be as completely functional as she was before. Hey, Cracked, how are you doing? So A2 is going to become like a de facto sparring partner. She's going to teach 2B how to use her weapons again. Obviously, this is going to take a while, but I'm not doing too bad. We're working on the first of my hour streams today, where we're just going to be talking about my projects. This one is Life After YorHa, which is one of my 2 novel ideas. I couldn't figure out what to really do with it, so I figured I might as well explain kind of what's in my head about the story idea, and then we'll just push forward from there, basically. But I hope you're doing well. So yeah, like with this, 9S is kind of like going to half and half, like forgive A2, not completely, but like partially. To the point where, you know, they can sort of, you know, go on missions and whatever together. So the whole point is they're going to be like the main, like, first bit of the story is I'm going to be finding, rebuilding the resistance camp, finding other androids who survived, rebuilding those, like, because obviously there's going to be a lot of spare parts knocking around, considering there was a giant, you know, like, end of game basically war. So yeah, they're gonna basically rebuild city ruins for the purpose of building a quote unquote like android community that they can all sort of, you know, exist in functionally. During this, we're gonna have Devler and Poplar there, who sort of become de facto leaders of this new like android community sort of thing, sort of like logistics and stuff like that. And we're going to have, obviously, Emil's still going to be there because he's still there. Oh, now it's hot. At some point, we're going to need a Marso detector because the black boxes for androids contain Marso. It's canon, so I checked it is canon. It is. So basically, they're going to find a very, very large concentration of Marso out in like some remote fucking area. But that's a later story beat anyway. So for the first little bit, it's mostly just going to be like building the community and getting everything sort of sorted out. You know, like everybody has a home. Everybody's like, you know, maybe some trade starts. Maybe they find some other resistance camps in other areas. Maybe they you know, like there's a bunch of stuff that it's mostly just like the first sort of part of it is mostly just world building. It's mostly just getting everything to a point where all the characters are sort of where they should be for the purpose of the story that I'm trying to tell. And then so that's like the main story. There's a lot more of the main story, but I'm not gonna. I've got a few like twists for later. But yeah, for now that's what I've got for the main story, and then we've got like a ton of side stories. Basically, the side stories are going to be like mostly like slice of life kind of stuff, kind of like how, you know, like kind of what they get up to when there's not a war going on anymore. Like, it's obviously post the end of post ending E, there is no bunker, there's no YorHa, there's really no machines. I don't. One of the things I'm still working on is the canonicity of who survives the end of the game. So like people like Pascal and Jackass and Anemone and all that lot. Like, there's a bunch of characters who sort of I'm still sort of trying to figure out, you know, what place they have if they survive the end of the game. And then of course Devil and Popola, who technically we don't know how if they did survive or not. I know they're shown, like, but it's not. There's no evidence to say whether they're alive or dead, basically, or like if they can be brought back. Because if they can bring back 2B and 9S, then obviously they can do other things too, which is where we're going to bring Emil into it, and obviously Devil and Popola, who have sort of experience with healing androids as we see them healing 9S at one point in, or like, I don't know what the fuck they're doing, but they're healing it somehow, and it's canon because it's in the anime as well. But they have so yeah, that's kind of most of that. Devil and Popola are obviously still going to be quite guilty. That's the sort of their story arc. We're not really going to focus well, I mean, we are going to focus on that, but that's also a very late story thing. So I'm going to kind of retcon their grief, more or less. It's not like it's going to be like a big deal or anything, but I think that the reason that they are in a perpetual state of feeling like guilty is never properly explained. Like, they failed Project Gestalt in Replicant, but like, that's not really their fault. That's mainly because the Shadow Lord, who is obviously Replicant Nier, started playing up and, you know, not really playing by the rules. So it doesn't really make sense to me that that's the reason the Deviler and Popola are, you know, like guilt-ridden, basically, especially to the sort of extent that they are, considering it's, you know, 11,000 years later or something like that. 2B's arc isn't really going to change much. I think she's going to become a more human character. Like, I'm not sort of like, it's not like she's going to drop the formalities or anything. She's still going to be sort of specifically out and out a soldier, like a heart sort of thing. But she's going to maybe warm up a little bit because obviously, you know, the androids are kind of isolated in a way, and like the way they're building a community throughout the space of the story is like maybe it will like sort of become a part of her that you know, this is something she actually belongs in. 9S is going to continue being 9S. Obviously, we're going to have him pipe down quite quickly because we can't have him going through the entirety of the story, just like his entire character arc being I'm pissed off at A2, you know, like blah blah blah. But we're not going to do that. It's kind of like it became sort of functionally irrelevant like 5 minutes after what happened. Like if he's, I mean, obviously you can stand around and talk about it because the bridge under him collapsed. But like if it had, like it's not like at any point he tried to, you know, talk about it and, you know, like explain what the fuck was going on, or like get an explanation, I should say, about what was going on. And I'm pretty sure A2 probably would have provided that explanation. You know, obviously, like, to be massively infected with a logic virus and had to be mercy killed because otherwise the other androids around her would have done it first. And they probably wouldn't have been as clean. It wouldn't have been as clean a kill. As for A2, this is sort of there are definitely parts of this story that feel like they are like absolutely an A2 story. Like she has a couple of really big arcs that are going to be quite important for the purpose of it. Well, they don't. I shouldn't really say that. It's more like she's going to get some characterization. She's probably going to get more characterization than 2B and 80 and 9S combined. So we've got some stuff with Emil that is big and important and will be later. Because it's something I'm still working on. I'm not 100% sure how I'm going to do it. But like, I want Emil to be back, basically, like, because obviously, at the end of Replicant, he's just sort of a head rolling around, and he somehow ends up in the shopping district place in Automata, and it turns out he's been turned into a rolly boy. So I need to, I want to fix something with that. We're gonna go outside the broadly speaking, we're gonna go outside the main areas of the game, obviously, because in the game we just got desert jungle, Pascal's village, desert jungle, Pascal's village, city ruins, and the sunken city. But we're going to expand on that a bit, just like some other areas. Perhaps they've built land bridges, perhaps like other passages to other places have opened up, and they find more resistance camps, more, you know, just more people basically. And obviously, like, you know, because like I can't really comfortably believe there's only like 7 people alive, and I mean they're all androids anyway, so I guess it doesn't matter too much. Trying to think what else. What else is going on? I don't even have notes. I should have made notes realistically. Otherwise, like, basically all the characters are just going to be their characters more or less. I mean, obviously, like, we're going to have a lot of basically OCs, like a lot of original characters, like a lot of like characters who just don't exist in the legitimate canon for it. But that on its own is kind of a risk of having a story like this anyway, because like realistically the only 3 known characters are 2B, 9S, and A2, and the pods. But like, I feel like you can't really tell a lot of stories based on just 3 characters. I mean, you probably can, but you need supporting characters. So we're gonna have Yeah, we're gonna basically make up a bunch of characters and maybe bring back some other characters who are, you know, dead or not there anymore. Been talking about this for 15 minutes already. I'm trying to think of we're gonna do a lot of historical stuff as well in it. I'm not entirely sure where like if the continent that it takes part on is like part like is based at all on any real life locations. Like I know the stuff. Fucking hell! I know this juice is garbage. I know at the start of Replicant, like there's like a recognizable landmark in the distance, and depending on where you live on the world, it depends on um what version of like what thing you see. I think it's if you're in France, if you buy the French version, you see the Eiffel Tower or something. So, but I don't know how canon that is. It could just be a recreation of it. I know that in Drakengard, it's Japan, but not entirely sure if that carries over 1-to-1 for the near story. Something I'll have to look into. But yeah, regarding other camps, we're gonna have we're definitely gonna have other resistance camps. We're gonna have other survivors because not having other survivors is boring. We want people. We want conflict. Well, not really conflict, but you know, like we need to have other characters for our characters to interact with in so that they sort of a story can actually form. And obviously for the purpose of these stories we need to have you know, like I said, a bunch of other characters. I don't know if we're gonna do hard or soft magic at all. Like obviously I want Emil to be there, but by the time of Nier Automata, basically magic is gone from the world. And I've kind of so the idea I've got with Emil is that the Emil we meet in Nier Automata is not the real Emil. He's just another clone. Because as we know, Emil made a ton of clones to help fight against the aliens in between point A and point B, basically, which is why you fight a version of him in the desert, the super boss. Let me see if I can bring that up. Emil super boss. I think it's just a hidden boss. Okay. Hidden boss, Nier Automata. Yeah, so this is just another clone of him, basically, that you can fight against, but it's obviously not the same Emil as the one you meet in. There you go. There's the Emil you actually speak to. So yeah, I'm just gonna. What's with this lag, bro? What the fuck? Is it because it's? Okay, let's just put it on 720. So yeah, like basically my idea is that this isn't the real Emil either, and that they are going to find the real Emil who is human again, and so they're going to have interactions with the true Emil, who is the reason that all the magic is gone, basically because he absorbed it all back. So then, like basically, it couldn't be abused in the same way it was in Replicant, which is obviously good reasoning. Emil is kind of it's not like I don't think he's got a specifically like anti-violence trait, but I think it would probably be safer to assume that the way that magic was used is not probably the way he would have wanted it to be used. So yeah, we're going to have that kind of storyline going as after the events of Replicant, he became human again through magic, because the Nier series and Drakengard to an extent has a very soft magic system, in the sense that it's not like there's explicit rules about what you can and cannot do with magic. It's more that it's like a MacGuffin, basically. It does what the author needs it to do in the moment, which is especially sort of like, because obviously most of it was offensive magic, and then you had and defensive magic in Replicant when he destroys the Eerie, and then when he protects fucking Kaine and Nier from Devler's like final burst attack sort of thing. So yeah, I think that's probably what's going to be the case. Is that he basically just said, "Fuck this! I'm just going to take all the magic in the world into this one area, and I'm going to keep it all for myself because I'm the only one who's capable of I don't really know the right word there. Is the only one sort of capable of being a custodian of it, more or less." So yeah, they're gonna find this real Emil, or as I'm going to be calling him, Prime Emil for now. Like when I'm writing about it, I'll be talking about him as the Prime Emil, because that reminds us that he is like the base person. He's not any of the clones. He's the actual like real Emil. Yeah. So in this sort of where he's got it is he's made a recreation of the village from Near Replicant, and he's going to be there with like Kaine and young Nier and Yona and Devler and Poplar and all that. Like they're kind of like ghosts of the characters. Basically, they're not the real thing. Maybe they don't even speak. Maybe they can't speak. Maybe they weren't like they don't have like that kind of ability. But it's going to be that kind of thing where he's like, basically he hasn't been solitary for the past 11,000 years. At this point, probably 12,000 years. He's been there basically just in a state of perpetual, like sort of just being there with the people who he cares about and protecting them from protecting what he thinks of them from the rest of the world. Kind of thing, and I'm in the sort of idea I've had. It will be Yona who sort of tells him, time to go, kind of thing. She's very self-sacrificing. It's kind of correct for her to be the one who does that. And then obviously he'll return to City Ruins with the main characters and meet up with Devil and Poplar, which will become at that point it sort of becomes a little bit of a Devil and Poplar story, because there's a specific story relating that I've got in my head relating to those. So like the between Emil and Devil and Poplar, and that story is after and this is the guilt thing. This is the whole reason that they feel the sort of the guilt thing is because after the failure of Project Gestalt, obviously something else popped up, because it's not like nothing happened in between the events of Replicant and Automata, or Gestalt and Automata. And one of the things that happened is at some point, obviously, we're going to have Project YorHa, which is when the androids start getting made because effectively what they realised is they can't do what they wanted to do with biological immortality or biological soul transference, so they're going to do it with mechanical needs instead, which is why they have androids now. Or at least, at our point of the storytelling. And so what we're going to do with that is that basically Devlin and Poplar are obviously still functional at that point, or like a version of them, because obviously the ones from the actual village got a little bit fucking destroyed. Will be sent to basically recruit. I'm going to just put quote unquote recruit Emil. Like obviously this is not necessarily by force, but like by coercion or something, like recognition sort of thing. And they're going to try and bring Emil to like this Project YorHa, because obviously, like as I mentioned earlier, like it is canon that there is Marceau in the black boxes of androids. So they need somebody who can manipulate Marceau to be basically on hand to actually, put the Marceau where it's meant to be. And instead of the real or the Prime Emil actually going with Devler and Poplar to this, it's going to be a clone. Emil's going to send a clone, and this is maybe the point in the past where he learns how to clone himself, and sends that clone with him, but with a sort of through line that Devler and Poplar have their memories erased of it being just a clone, because obviously if it's not a clone, then they've sold the last human down the river to this like this org basically. So that's this is why I'm retconning their grief, is because I think this is it's not like a retcon of it really. It's just like adding to it, because it, like I said, it's not really explained why they are what's it, the way they are basically. You know, so I'm just sort of adding a little bit in there that adds, you know, something in between to say this is why they feel guilty, because they basically said to the last human, we're doing this thing, we need you for it. Obviously that Emil is not gonna be like treated very well, because you know it's still, you know, like we saw how people got treated in Project Gestalt. But yeah, so basically they're going to effectively be brainwashed into believing they took the last human to his death, more or less, which they didn't. So, you know, it's fine. But they don't know that yet. They're going to learn that when Emil meets them in the City Ruins. And obviously, like with a lot of the characters who are obviously not immortal, or functionally immortal anyway, this is not going to be the same Devlin and Popola anyway, but all the Devlin and Popolas who come after them, assuming there are any at this point, because we don't have the bunker, so it's not 100% certain if there even will be more, you know, will not feel that guilt because it'll be cleared up. They will understand why. There's sort of a few things I haven't really thought about yet. So there's a few characters we haven't really gone back to. In the recreation, in the Near Replicant remake, I was trying to figure out the word between remake and remaster. It's one of those two. But yeah, in the 20 whatever, the recent remaster of it, I'll just say remaster, even though I'm not entirely sure what it is, where they added on the fifth ending where you play as Kaine, and at the end you end up in the big tree, and you meet the boy and the girl who are voiced by 2B and 9S. I don't know what's going on with those characters, what we're going to do with those, and also the red girls. I don't know what we're going to do with those, but there's going to be. I'm going to work them into it basically. Like if Pascal canonically survived Near Automata, like, because I know there's a couple of options, you can either kill him or wipe his memory. Then perhaps he'll, you know, like return to having a sort of village of, or you know, like return to his village and have like you know, some of the machine life forms there, you know, just sort of like what he was doing basically in the story, maybe with a different POV, sort of like a different outlook on life. Um, fucking hell, sorry. Trying to think if there's any other like even semi-important characters. Obviously, Commander White's dead. Basically, all the androids are dead, and if and, yeah, I'm trying to think. I don't think there's any many other like super important characters. Let me see, because I think I've worked through the majority of them. I think we've got like most of them, so we want characters. Right, so we've got to be, well, what's going to happen with her? So we know that she's going to be effectively more or less defunct. She's no longer going to be like the leader because she's out of practice, basically. Pod Old 42 mostly, you know, just background noise, more or less. The pods are just going to be mostly background noise. We're going to characterize the remaining, I think there's like 7 of them as well. 9S is going to get over the whole A2 killing 2B thing. Is we're going to get a lot of like a lot of the side stories are 9S related. So like we're going to be fleshing out like basically the main 3 are all like A2 is sort of like where the main story is going to be, like that's going to be sort of like she's going to have some big fucking arcs. The side stories are going to be focusing more on 2B and 9S, and specifically 9S because there's a curiosity to 9S that I always enjoyed, like you know in Route B I think it is, where he's sort of like you can sort of, I think it's in Route B where you can you start to actually like see the subtitles for what the bots are saying, and it's like, oh yeah, that makes sense, blah blah blah. So yeah, we're gonna have a lot of them based around 9S experiencing this world. Commander White is dead. Operator 210 or 60. I think 60. She becomes 60. Oh no, 210 and 60 are okay. I don't really know. I guess they died. Your hard defense unit 16D. She was on the bunker and died. 10H is dead. Council of Humanity, irrelevant. YorHa members introduced in stage play. I'm gonna pretend that I don't know the stage play exists, even though it is deeply saddening to me. It's mainly because it means that there is already, because the stage play is the canon, is Yoko Taro certified post YorHa, basically. So I'm just going to pretend it doesn't exist, because this is technically just fan fiction. So we can just play around with that, basically. I don't know if Anemone's going to be alive. I like the idea of her as a cat, sort of as a leader, but like Devlin and Popola sort of become leaders, so maybe Anemone is sort of like a rogue element leader, sort of like Devlin and Popola are like the voted in leaders, and Anemone is sort of like the one they just follow, like the one that people actually follow. Maybe like maybe Devlin and Popola aren't like really leaders in the direct sense. Maybe they're just like sort of leaders in the spiritual sense of like they know what they're doing and people trust them. Jackass, I absolutely 100% am having Jackass back in the story. On for the Valentine's Day one. Oh fuck me, that's very bright. The Valentine's Day one was mainly because of Jackass, mostly, in that it's to do with everybody getting Valentines, and basically what Jackass has gone and done is told that the androids that like the quote unquote feelings of admiration that they are having for like 2B is just love, and because they're similar in her like in the tests that she performs that you take part in throughout the course of the game. Because there's a couple of them where you just fight a bunch of things and she's like, oh yeah, like, did you know that killing is akin to fucking for androids? And like, and you get the e-drugs off her and shit. And so yeah, like I can see, I absolutely want Jackass there because we need like a fucking insane person. And I love Jackass as a character because she's so great. We talked about Devlin and Popola at length. They are going to be the de facto leaders of the new Android community, world, whatever. That's going to be their position, basically. They're going to be, because they're knowledgeable, they know how to repair shit that, you know, like maybe, you know, like they have stores of knowledge functionally, and they are very good at putting shit back together. So that's going to be their role. Who's 4S? I think she dies. Lily is non-canon. No, she's actually in the anime. I don't know what to do with this character because I think she actually. Oh no, she actually is sole survivor of the suicide mission. Oh cool, maybe we can figure something out with this character. I've watched the anime. I've read the manga. I got the manga because I had to buy it in like 4 different things because I saw it and I was like, fuck. And they weren't too expensive, but yeah. So we're gonna have to find. Maybe we'll find something to do with Lily. I don't know if she's functional by the time of where we are, but you know, resistance members introduced in stage plays. These are more or less irrelevant because we're going to have a lot of other resistance members that are OCs. Obviously Simone, Grun, Pascal. We're going to have Pascal as long as we can. Let's just see. Does Pascal canonically survive the event of near automata? Because I think there is one version of the ending where he does live. But I think there's also, because I think he asks A2 to either kill him or wipe his memory. There's no single fixed canon outcome. There you go. Yeah, that's basically what I was thinking. Yeah, it's a depending choice. After the Machine Village massacre, Pascal begs A2 to do something about his trauma. You're given 3 choices: to mercy kill him, to erase his memories, or walk away. Perfect. Excellent. Okay, so yeah, we can functionally throw Pascal back in there. And like I said before, we'll find some way for him to basically be doing the same duties as he was in the events of the game. But we'll figure something out, basically. Jean-Paul, irrelevant. Kierkegaard, irrelevant because he becomes gods. Romeo's and Juliet, robots, those are kind of irrelevant. Adam and Eve are dead. The terminals, this is one. N2, this is the red girls I was talking about. I have no fucking clue what to do with these characters. We know they are canonically fucking evil. I'm thinking, one of the things that I was thinking about doing is like maybe there's a bunch of materials or like old world schematics like Warhammer 40k STCs that they have to go and They have to basically go outside the sort of known realms of the game to find, and maybe there are AI systems in them that are basically like prototypes of N2, and maybe like the actual N2 could be fucking with them the whole time. But yeah, so that's sort of what I have in mind, but that is not fleshed out at all. There might be something in old story data that I've got because I've been at this for a long time, but I'm not 100% sure. So yeah, we kind of have something, but I'm not 100% sure what we're doing with him. Papa Servo. You know what? Honestly, I think maybe we just have Papa Servo survive. I think he's a good character. He's the one that you fight multiple times in the city ruins. First of all, as a little guy, and finally as a Goliath. You know, like maybe he is. I don't think he's not actively hostile, but there's no evidence that he's not alive after the end of it because he seems pretty independent. He doesn't seem reliant on the Adam and Eve machine networks. Plato model. What is this? A biomachine created to invade the Earth. I will decide what is important. Okay, I don't know what this is. The aliens are irrelevant. Emil, what we've talked about. Prometheus. Oh, this is BP. Yep. And so in so is it Asteroid? I don't know the guy's name. Asteroidal. So yeah, I've seen a couple of pieces of work by this guy, and there's one that sort of oh, he does Pokemon art now. Sick. There was a piece of art he did that inspired a sort of story idea. I'm gonna try and find it because I know it's one of these. It's quite it's not like a super early one, but it's. I think this is it. Yeah, this is the one. And I saw this character who obviously is, you know, white hair and kind of like this. Kind of looks like city ruins. And so what I had in my idea in my head was this stupid idea of a first android, like a progenitor android, basically the first one they ever built, and it went rogue and basically convinced itself it was a god and went fucking mental, basically. And that first android's name was YorHa, and that's why the project and you know like the whole thing is called YorHa is because of this original android, and that's sort of where they first started with the technology for it. And yeah, I had this sort of thing where they're going to accidentally unearth it, and it's you know they're going to have to. The thing is obviously when it was created, hackers like the scanner models of androids didn't exist, so 9S is going to put it down pretty quick and you know bring it around. But like maybe it's got because obviously Adam and Eve in the course of gameplay had some pretty wacky powers. I like the way they can sort of manipulate matter in a way, or at least you know other machine stuff. But I mean Adam created the entire copied city, so whatever. But I'm thinking maybe this guy, or you know my version of this guy, because obviously this is not at all related to Life After YorHa. I just recommend following that artist because he's fucking amazing. But yeah, so I'm thinking maybe this one can manipulate matter in a certain way, and it's probably going to be a big helping hand towards you know getting shit put back together. If we go to replicant, don't know if this is going to work. Nope. Maybe it's Gestalt. It could just be near. Okay, that worked. Right, so we've got the boy near is going to be the one that is in the village, not the real village, the copied village. It's not going to be real near either. It's going to be just like young near, who's hanging out with Emil for 11,000 years. Yona as well will be there. Weiss, questionable, because obviously the modern equivalent of the grimoires is the pods. Maybe it could be there because you know, like obviously Emil did get on with Weiss somewhat. Kaine is obviously going to be there, and obviously human Emil is going to be there as well. Devil and Pebble we talked about. The King of Facade, no. Vera, like all of these are going to be like there basically. Like Vera, the King of Facade, Devil and Pebble. Grimoire Noir, Rubrum. I'm sad they never did anything more with Rubrum, but maybe we can do something with something. What's the singularity? Okay, that's something. The administrators, that's the other one. The other like N2 style characters who we know absolutely fuck about. But this again could be, you know, one of these like places where they end up having to go to find old tech or like materials that are rare or hard to find where they are. So yeah, we're gonna figure out something. And obviously, like, even here it says, Yoko Taro has acknowledged there are obvious similarities to B9S and clarifies there is a connection, but refrain from elaborating further. So the thing is obviously even Yoko Taro hasn't done anything with them, so mine is just going to be a random sort of. Well, it's going to be, what's it called? It's going to be a fucking fan fiction. So yeah, so we got a pretty good idea for a bunch of stuff that's going to happen. I've got sort of a few major story beats and arcs I've like got in mind, but I haven't really done. I haven't really gone the full way yet. I just kind of have a bunch of ideas, and I'm hoping that, like, once I start writing, they'll become more or less like valuable in that way, because there's a lot of things that can be worked on here, and I like the idea of a lot of them, and like a lot of them are sort of stuff that hasn't necessarily been explored. And I mean, most of them are just stupid. Like, a lot of them are just like stupid fluff, like the specifically the Valentine's. Oh, that's why I've zoomed out. The Valentine's Day one, it's just fluff. It's not anything super serious. Because originally Life After YorHa was going to be a series of short stories. That's why I've got so fucking many of them. Like, I had this idea was originally about 7 years ago. And then I had some ideas back then, but I didn't really solidify anything. And I just put the idea down. And then very recently, well, not really very recently, probably about a year. Within the space of a year, I've come back to the idea, and I've been working on it since. And that's why I've got like 200 plus short story ideas that definitely need to be refined, because some of those are shit. But that's mainly because they're just sort of stuff that I've seen in other media, and I thought, you know what, I could probably just like, I could throw that into an automata style short story. And then of course like 4-panel vignettes, like let me see. I think 4-panel comics. Not like this. I want them like the vertical ones. Like this one. This one. This is a good example. Like this kind of thing. I had one, for example. It was one of the very first I ever had. Was like 9S makes an omelette. A2 takes hers begrudgingly, fucks off into the living room to eat alone, and you hear the you sort of see in the third panel, which is like A2 doing the. Let me see if there's a anime oishi like this, like A2 basically doing this, and then like it goes back to the kitchen, and you get the Metal Gear discovered exclamation mark, fuck it. And like A2 2B and 9S are just sort of like, huh? Because obviously they're hearing something that they didn't think they would ever hear. And that's kind of like the ideas I had. Like, a lot of the ideas are stupid like that, but they're sort of more fun than anything. And as I was writing those, a larger narrative started unfolding. The whole, like, you know, like exactly what actually, like, it's kind of like the short story, and then you go, so around this, yeah, so this is obviously a short story. This is like one chapter's worth. And then like, okay, so yeah, like at some point I started thinking of macro stuff, like world building stuff, instead of it being just a short story. You know, so it's just like a short story. A2, 2B gets a bunch of like Valentine's. You know, she acts formally, and that's, you know, like it basically fucks up the whole thing of it being Valentine's Day, right? And that's sort of like, you could probably make a one shot out of that. That's probably easy as fuck. But like for me, if I'm going to be doing that, I need to understand, you know, how are they getting Valentine's? And then for that, like, obviously I wanted them to be traditional, because the androids are always trying to do stuff in the way that humans do it. And then, you know, like, okay, so how do they have a postal system? Why do they have a postal system? Obviously, they've got the pod network. Well, the pod network doesn't entirely work anymore because the bunker isn't up in space. So they don't really have long-range communications. They have some, but it's spotty at best, which is why we're going to have, like, post-delivery people. And then who set this kind of stuff up? And it's like, oh, it must have been Devil and Poplar because they know more about human civilization than any android because they've been around forever and they've got, like, a collective memory sort of thing, I imagine. I'll just throw that one on top that they have a sort of shared genetic, like quote unquote genetic memory, like how humans know to breathe, like they know everything their predecessor, like the former model of Devil and Poplar knew, kind of thing. Like it's programmed into them that they just know everything that they've always known, kind of thing. So yeah, like that's the kind of stuff I do, and that's kind of why I ended up going from it all just being stupid little funny short stories to having a major background. So then, like we now have like the main story of Life After YorHa, which is like explaining functionally everything, and then all the short stories can go along, like can be dotted along the side of it. It's a shame I can't, like I don't have hand tracking enabled because my hands are everywhere right now, just throwing shit at a wall. But it's like, so you have the main story that explains what's going on, then you have the short stories which are just sort of fluff. It's just fun, basically. And yeah, so that's sort of the structure I'm going for, is like one main story and a bunch of short stories. How long have I got left? 13 quarter minutes, nearly 14 minutes. Okay. What haven't I covered? I think I've covered functionally everything. I've talked about characters, I've talked about plot, I've tied it into the main story, I've talked about location, I've talked about what they're basically trying to do. I think I've actually done, I think I've explained everything there is in my head, like on a very basic, I mean obviously there's more, but this is like a very low level, functional level sort of version of everything that is going to happen throughout the concept of Life After YorHa, because it's a big project. That's the thing, is, and it's authorial work. So the other reason Life After YorHa exists is that I have my own novel idea, which is called The Shattered Masquerade, which is kind of like a modern day Alice in Wonderland. Like you replace the rabbit hole with VR, basically. And I know Isekai exists, and obviously the Matrix and reality, if you believe in an afterlife. But like, for me, the whole concept of Isekai never really felt the same as Alice in Wonderland. So that's kind of what I've got in mind for that. But like, so I started writing it, and I kind of realised I don't know how to write for shit. I mean, I kind of do. I did write an 1,800 word draft of the first chapter, which isn't very good. When George Lucas was writing Star Wars Episode 1, I think it was Star Wars Episode 1 anyway, he replaced a lot of like large sections with they fight and then fucked off, and that was it. So for mine, I have my own version of, like they walk to place and they do thing at place and then they leave place and then end of chapter. And obviously I've been trying to flesh that out, but what I figured is I need a writing project or an authorial project which is effectively something that already has an existing fan base, already has, like, I mean, I've got thousands of hours in there. Like, it's probably only low thousands of hours, but I played more Nier Automata than probably any game, barring maybe Terraria. That's because Terraria ran on every shit laptop I ever owned. So yeah, like I've got a very, very good understanding of the world of Nier Automata and Nier Replicant as well. Maybe not so much Nier Replicant. Like, I did play Gestalt when it first came out because I was honestly I was a bit what's the fucking word for it? I sort of saw it on the shelf, didn't know what it was. It looked cool, and I thought, fuck it, I'll buy that, and it turned out to be good. And then obviously in 20 whatever year they brought out Nier Automata, I bought that too. A lot of people didn't play the original Nier, and only really went back to it after Nier Automata, and that's why when Nier Replicant come out, it was it's not the game before Nier Automata. It was no, it what's there was a way people worded it. It was basically like it doesn't stand on its own legs. It only exists because Nier Automata exists, which is obviously awful thing. That's a shitty thing to say, because obviously Nier Replicant / Gestalt did come first, and Nier Automata does follow it, but they didn't. But people didn't see it that way because they didn't play the original one first, which is something I actually did. So yeah, like I've got a lot of knowledge of that. I own both the world guides. I played the games multiple times all the way through. I'm probably what I might do as part of this, or like not specifically this, but like a sideline to this, is I might replay them just so I can get sort of back in the mind space of it. Because it's been a hot minute. I'll say that much. But yeah, I think I need to replay them anyway because there's just like a few bits and pieces that I think would be value to remember, specifically like character motivations and like the way certain characters are. Like I know in Nier Automata, and I only really remember this specifically because somebody posted on Twitter earlier, and I sort of immediately went, "Oh yeah, I remember that." It's when they're going through the shopping district on the way to the Jungle Kingdom from City Ruins, and 9S is like, "Oh yeah, like imagine going shopping here." And it's like, oh yeah, that's a thing, and so that's one of the short stories that I've got in my head is that they go shopping, and that's basically the whole premise of it. It's literally just 2B and 9S go shopping. The end. Same with stuff like makeup, and because there was a thing about makeup in where what is it? It's that 2B doesn't understand the benefits of using makeup in the actual Nier Automata. A2 is going to get a massive upgrade as well. That's the point. In Nier Automata, A2 has a thing called Berserk mode, which is where she does more damage. I think she takes more damage as well. And what I've sort of decided for this, honestly, is that it's just going to be upgraded. By the fact that she has a pod, it's going to go more than what it currently is to sort of being like an Ultra Instinct kind of thing. Because androids already technically have access to something like that through one of the pod programs. But I think that because that was basically built into A2 and it's kind of self-destructive. I'm thinking I'm going to upgrade it. Basically, I'm going to give her an upgrade via just having a pod that she can, she basically turns her Berserk mode into Ultra Instinct, which is what's going to be, in a very, very basic sense, what she's going to be using against 9S in the very start. And obviously she'll develop it over time because, well, yeah, it's a new thing even for her because normally she just goes Berserk mode and then it's like, okay, cool, I'm going to just wreck everything around me, blah blah blah. So yeah, we're gonna. I'm trying to think if there's anything I can't think if there's anything else I need to mention specifically. We've got story world characters. The world determines the characters determine the story. I think that's everything I've got though. I think everything that needs to be said has been said. I think I've figured it. I think I've done this pretty cleanly in the sense that I know. I know what the world needs to be functional, and I know it's going to be a hell of a lot of work because it's not, like I said, this is not a small project. Because the thing is the other thing as well is that when I did the Valentine's Day thing, and the reason that I did I sort of stopped was because I reached a certain point where I realised there's a lot that needs to be explained here, and if I don't explain it, then and it sounds really, really bad when I say it this way, but it's like there's people in the fan fiction community, and I'm not shitting on them or anything when I say this, but they will ignore canon. They will ignore stuff that's actually specific to those characters in order to get a story out quicker, and I can't do that. I literally cannot allow myself to do that. Which is why this is such a big deal to me, because it needs to be good. Because also, nowadays, there's anybody can do fan fiction, anybody can do content creation, but the thing is to stand out, you have to be functionally exceptional, which, I'm not. but like I can at least sort of pretend or try to be. So I'm going to try to be, because I think there's a lot of value that something like Life After YorHa can bring to the community, as it is, because I think there's just a lot that, like, it's like I saw somebody on Twitter saying the other day that they would really love to have seen a to have actually seen 9S and 2B going shopping. And I sort of said, look, I'm working on something, and if it works, then I hope that, like, this can give you that sort of closure. Even though obviously I'm not Yoko Taro, and I'm not really anyone, but like I can try. I can write good fan fiction, I hope, and it will be good enough that people will see it and they will think, ah, yes, this is good. Or at the barest minimum, I don't even care if people think it's good. What I hope that they think when they're reading it is, yes, this is the tone. This is the correct tone for Nier Automata, or like the Nier universe as it is. Because it's correct. It's, like, it's taking everything that we actually know about the characters into consideration and not ignoring any of it. Because I could do that. I could ignore a lot of character motivations and personality quirks and stuff like that, but that would... I'm just realizing how dumb this piece of music is. I'm gonna skip it. But yeah, like, so there's a lot, and I want to make it as good as I possibly can. When I was talking to some friends about it, what I sort of said was that I functionally, so like when it comes to like ratings and stuff like that, like even if they're all 5 out of 10s, I don't care as long as I know for a damn fact that I put as much work as I could into it, and that I'm not effectively like cheating myself. Like if what I put out is the best I can possibly do, then I won't care if it's a 3 or a 10. Because at least I will know, regardless of external validation, that I have tried my best. And I think that's really, in the fanfiction community, I assume that's pretty much all anybody can ever really ask for, is that you just don't fuck everything up on purpose. Or like, not on purpose as such, because I think that's intellectually dishonest to say, but like kind of like you actually are trying to represent the universe correctly rather than just making slop. And that's basically why I hope people eventually think of my work, if this works, basically. Like, as long as I can as long as I can put stuff out and go, yep, I did my best, that's all that matters. How long we got left? 2 minutes? Damn. I've been talking for 58 minutes. I mean, to be fair, like, that's the thing, is there's even more, but it requires me to sort of it's not even, I don't even really know what the right word for it is, but there's like a lot of secondary sort of stuff that only really comes to my mind if it's being asked about. Like, if somebody asked about X scenario or X character, and I could say this, that, and the other, but like when I'm doing them in this format, where honestly I don't imagine most of the Nier Automata community will be anywhere near my chat, it's easier for me to just work with sort of what I can do on my own, because obviously this will be done mostly on my own. Unless things go really, really well, in which case I'll be commissioning a lot of people to do artwork for it as well, because I think that this deserves art. And like the asteroid thing that I showed earlier, I think that like a lot of this sort of style of art is very Nier Automata. And yeah, so I'd be happy to have, I don't know, this guy's probably there you go. Every time I see your art, it makes me think of Nier and gives me inspiration for the short stories I'm working on. That was last year. But yeah, like, it gives me a lot of ideas, basically. Like, and I mean, that's the thing, is like it goes both ways. Is that I see art and I think I could write a short story based on this piece of art, or I think I've got this short story idea. here's what it looks like in my head. I wish I could pay somebody to make that art for me, basically, so then we can have it functional for... I don't know. I don't actually know how long we've got left on that timer. Where's OBS? Timer. Very nearly... Why didn't it play the sound? Rip.